Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sports. Here on this show, we don't argue sports, we discuss sports. We're gentlemen. All right. Hello, everyone. It's my favorite time of the week. It's Wednesday at 8 o'clock, and we're going to chop it up on what's happening in sports over the last week. And I am honored to have two of my good friends on the show this evening, as they are every week. Let's start with Earl, Go Rush. Earl, good evening, and how are you doing, sir?
Good evening, Charles. I'm excited that we get a chance to talk about this pandemonium that's going on in the NBA playoffs. Great to see Larry. I'm excited, and I'm in a good mood today. If I'm going to act like I have some sense, there won't be no kind of venomous verbal attacks from me today, and I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Okay, I'm going to time that. I'll see how long I can take before I can change your mood. So we'll see how that goes. Mr. Larry Abels, good evening, sir. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm great, Chuck. And I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, let's get into these NBA playoffs. They have been very, very good. There are a lot of series that are tied up at 2 games apiece. I think they've been great games. I'll tell you, basketball has changed since the day you, Earl, and I were playing up at Kennedy Playground when you said to dump it into the big people and all those kinds of things. This game is played from jump shot out. And maybe they have a layup every now and then. So let's start with this Boston-Milwaukee series, which I think is a heck of a series, one of the better series that are going on currently. Boston made a heck of a statement on Sunday. I think it was Sunday. They came back and tied the series up. Mr. Al Horford, the 35-year-old center, had a great game. Tatum bounced back. Hey, Larry, about that game, what jumped out at you? What did you think? Did you think, A, Boston was going to win it, and B, were you surprised?
So A, wasn't sure they were going to win, and somewhat surprised. What jumped out at me, the original question was, I thought Boston was very resilient because there were plenty of times when they could have folded because this is a dog fight.
It is.
And they're with a big dog, even though he's gone from Milwaukee now. But they're in it with a real tough opponent, and they hung in there and pulled it out. But great game. You mentioned Al Horford. He's what I would call a pro. He's always been very steady and not a superstar, but, he definitely gives you good minutes every time he plays and doesn't make a lot of mental mistakes.
I agree with you. He had a heck of a game for 35 years old. Earl, I'll put you on the spot. Who wins this series between Boston and Milwaukee? And by the way, they're playing tonight, I know. Who wins this series? It's 2 games apiece. And why?
I think Milwaukee's going to win.
Wow.
I think Milwaukee's going to win because it appears to me that Giannis can just do whatever he wants to do on the court. Nobody can do anything with him. And they almost beat Boston the other night, and Larry's boy Holiday was off. He's not usually off. He's usually pretty steady. If Holloway plays like he normally does, with Lopez back, getting his feet under him after being out, I gotta go Milwaukee.
Wow.
Because I know guy from Duke, what's his name? Tatum came back after 4-2 games, but I don't like the fact that he had 2 straight 4 games.
Right.
I need him to be lights out the rest of the way. I need him to be the rest of the way. And Boston needs him to be lights out as well. But he's been playing kind of shaky, but he did come back strong that game with the answer.
He did. Yeah, he had 30 points in that game along with Horford. You're right.
Took me 2 minutes to answer a simple question. I think Milwaukee's gonna win.
Oh wow, Larry, how about yourself? Do you think who do you think will win this series? Again, this is a heck of a series.
I think whoever wins tonight will win. So I'm not sure it's a toss up. Boston's up by about 9 at the moment. With respect to the players not shooting well, players on both teams haven't shot well, but I'm going to give these 2 teams, I think they're the 2 best defensive teams out there.
Right.
And nothing is coming easy. Some of them are missing open jump shots that they normally hit.
Sure.
But this is a real battle. This is the best series I've seen thus far.
It's unbelievable. I absolutely agree with you. I tell you what, I think one of the biggest reasons why, and I think Boston will win this series, and I think one of the biggest reasons why Boston will win, even though Milwaukee won the championship last year, is because they're missing Middleton. And Middleton is their second best scorer, an Olympian, a really, really good player. And they can't, their margin of error relative to offense is they just can't miss somebody like that. And I think Boston is taking advantage of that. What do you think about that, Earl?
I know I said I was going to try to act like I had some sense today. And when I'm getting ready to say, don't
Pretty
sound like
obvious. That was obvious.
Don't sound like I have any sense because I agree with you.
Wow. We want to mark that down. That doesn't happen very often.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It don't make sense. That much I know. I don't know how much it happens, but it don't make sense. But.
What do you think about that, Larry? Do you think how badly do you think Milwaukee misses Middleton?
I certainly think they miss him. He's a decent defender, which I don't think he gets credit for.
Agreed.
And he's good 3 and mid-range jump shooter. They have a lot of depth on their team, though. And I still go back to whoever. If they win tonight, I think they can win that series in Boston, in Milwaukee in Game 6.
Right.
And they miss him more this series because I think this is a team that really matches up well against them. But
what is Game 5 is in Boston? Is that correct?
Yeah, the one tonight in Boston. Yeah.
Well, so, I tell you, it's one of the best series of all the series, and I agree with you. So let me go a step further. Do you think whoever wins this series, do they win the East?
I think so. I think these are the two best teams.
Good. How about you, Earl? Whoever wins this series, do they win the East?
There's no way that I would say that for sure. No.
Do you think they would be the favorite to win the East, the winner of this series?
Well, that's what the experts, so-called experts, who get paid big bucks say. But that
what does the sports doctor say? What does the sports doctor say?
The real expert.
The real expert.
They would be favored. But I can't say that neither Philly or because if Philly gets by Miami, yes, they would beat Boston. But I don't think they will get by Miami. But I think Miami can beat Boston.
Well, that's a good segue, quite frankly, into the next series. Let's talk about that Heat-Philadelphia series. I, too, give Philly credit. They tied that thing up when it went back to Philadelphia, and Embiid came back, and it was 2 games apiece. What are your thoughts on that? I know they lost last night, but what are your thoughts about that series, Larry, so far?
Another dogfight. And even though I picked a winner from the other series, I think whatever the final 2 teams from the East are, I think they're going to be very, very good. And I think it'll be a good matchup. With respect to that series, I think Miami's going to win it. Philadelphia sort of let me down yesterday. They came out kind of flat, and I expected them to win yesterday.
Yeah.
But it seems like they sort of take their key from Embiid. If he comes out with he kind of came out flat yesterday, and the rest of the team came out flat. But I expect them to win in Philadelphia. I expect them to come back in Game 6. So, Game 7 is anybody's series.
Yeah. I was disappointed too, Larry. I agree. Earl, were you also disappointed, or how did you feel about their effort? I'm just talking not that fact that they lost last night, Philadelphia, but just the flat-out effort of the 76ers against Miami yesterday. That was a 35-point loss.
I think the effort was horrendous, and back to who I've never liked anyway. I don't care whether he won a championship or not. Look, come on, Doc. Wait a minute. You guys somehow came back from 2 down, which nobody even thought that. Everybody thought this series would probably be over by now. They thought it was going to 5 or 6. And you come down 2 games behind. You somehow come back. And then you play like that. That's the coach. Wait a minute, coach. You gotta have your team ready. You gotta have your team ready. I know everybody sticks up for Doc Rivers. I'm going to be one of the times where I will respect their opinion. I don't like him. I blame it on the coach. 35 points. 35 points.
Don't you think some of that's the players too? I mean, the coach might not have had them ready, but does the coach have to get you ready for game
Philly
5?
got a good team. Philly got a good team. They got talent.
They're going to win game 6.
How about that?
The crowd of Philly won't let them be.
Okay, let me ask you this, Larry Abel. Would you have been, if you was coaching some team somewhere, would you be disappointed in your effort if they laid the egg down by 35?
Oh, I would say everybody involved. Everybody involved. If I was a coach, I would definitely fall on the sword, but I think professionals got to give a better effort. It seemed like nobody showed up to play.
Right. Well, let me say something they said, and I get your thoughts on this. One of the reasons why they said, and Larry alluded to this, Embiid didn't come out strong and tough. I mean, he is one of the top 2 or 3 MVP finalists, and he didn't show that fire and that effort. And they said it was because he was disappointed earlier because Joker won the MVP award.
No,
Do you believe that did affect his behavior or his effort in last night's game? Because that was a lot of people were saying.
I think it's more the ball hitting him in his orbital bone, and he may have been injured. I mean, he started slow but he came back into the game. But I thought that probably was. I don't know about this.
Yeah, I don't care about that, Charles.
But didn't you hear people talking about that?
Yes, to answer your question, yes, I did hear people talking about that.
I'm surprised at that, though.
Hey, I think it's garbage.
That's because you got people who follow sports that just say anything out their mouth. That's all.
Right.
That guy's a warrior. Look, let me see you go out there with an injury on your face and go out there and be real aggressive. Come on, that's just human nature. You're gonna be cautious out there, man.
Especially
after he got hit, he was definitely in pain. You could see him like almost crying on the floor.
He was acting like a female dog early in the game. He said, "You know what, orbital or not, this nigga hit me with the ball. Let me act like I got some sense and beat me." And then he started coming on.
Right. Well, who else on that team is key for Philadelphia? Larry mentioned he thinks they're going to win Friday night or the next game, which is game 6 up in Philly. Larry, who do you think else is a key player that they absolutely need him to play well in their next game?
At least 2 out of these 3 I'm going to name: Harden, Maxey, and Harris.
Yeah.
At least 2 of those guys have to shoot better. And I think they will shoot better. A lot of players seem to play better on gyms where they're more familiar with.
Yeah. We saw flashes of Harden that coming back because he had 30-some points in that one game 4, but he went back to the Harden we've seen most of this.
I think Embiid opens things up for him. And when Embiid is going well, Embiid only had 17 points. Yeah. He was Philly's leading scorer. I mean, nobody got 20 points for them. Actually, only one person got 20 points in the whole game anyway, which was Butler.
Right.
But nobody on Philly really shot the ball well.
Who are you impressed with? Let's switch to Miami. What impressed you about Miami last night, if anything? Earl?
Well, I actually wanted to answer the question that you asked Larry as well, but let me answer your question.
You can.
How was I guess you didn't want my answer.
No, you can. You can answer it. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just joking. I said I'm going to be straight. Let's move on. Sometimes I just get silly. Let's move on. Okay. Was that impressed with Miami?
They shot the ball well.
I wasn't impressed with Miami. I was disappointed in Philly. They didn't. Come on, man. They ain't supposed to be beating them like that. Man.
Right.
Philly's supposed to win that series.
Yeah, interesting.
In my opinion.
Miami is a mysterious team. They play great defense. They have a culture down there, a little bit like the Pittsburgh Steelers or what have you, in terms of, you can depend on them to be competitive.
Right.
But Larry, are you impressed with their lineup? Do they have a lot of balance, no doubt, but do they have a star player?
I think Bam is pretty close to a star, and Jimmy Butler too. I think a key for them is they set down Lowry. Lowry's a good player, but he's not 100% now.
Right.
And the games that he played, I think it really took away from their offense. I think they moved the ball pretty well. Hero didn't shoot well the other night, which was strange to me. And I think they might, but Oladipo is really stepping up.
Yes.
The more time he gets. So I think they have a good top to bottom team, and they could throw 9 guys out there that can all contribute both ends of the court.
They definitely have a deep roster.
Charles, let me ask you something. Were you just trying to possibly maybe think maybe about 1,000 viewers we have out there that you maybe were trying to educate some people? I didn't really understand the question of who has to be key. The 3 people that Larry named, that's the only people that could be keys for Philadelphia. So I didn't really understand.
Well, I know that one night the Philly had a win. Danny Green had a bunch of threes.
Yeah, he sure did. Like 7.
Right, he had a bunch of threes. So my point, I guess, we know that Harden and Maxey and Tobias Harris have to contribute, but I didn't know if it's important that some other. Now, I don't know who that other could be. It could be the shooter that we just mentioned, Green. It could be Shake Milton. I don't know. I mean, do other people have to contribute besides the ones that Larry mentioned?
Well, the other people can't contribute, and you can't. And if they did, it would be gravy. You wouldn't even expect them to contribute. But
I think Green's a good. I mean, they need. I guess my point should have been they need 2 people besides Embiid to do it, and I forgot about Green's great game.
Right.
Let's move on. I'm being
what? Right. Who wins the series before we move on, though, Earl? Who wins the series between Miami and Philadelphia? I asked that question already.
Miami will win.
Wow.
Philly can beat it, but Miami will win.
And I think Larry mentioned that he thinks Philly might win this series. Larry,
I think Philly will win the next game. I think Miami will win it too.
Win the series.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Well, let's move out west. Let's get to the West. Of course, that series out there. I was excited about this Golden State Memphis series. I really was. And Golden State or Memphis lost a heartbreaker, like 118-117, the first game, which was at Memphis when Ja missed that layup. And then Golden State, and then they won the second game, and then Golden State beat them out there, and then beat them twice out there. And now Ja's out. Any thoughts about this series? And does Memphis have a chance, Larry, at this point at all?
Memphis won't win. They could have won the last game.
I know.
But I think when they played Minnesota, they were very fortunate. I thought they played another inexperienced team, and I thought Minnesota really outplayed them and handed them 3 of those games. Golden State tried to hand them the game, the last game, but they couldn't take it. I don't think Golden State will be giving things away, so I don't think they can beat them, even though I think athletically they have the team. And I'm disappointed in their coach. He hasn't made no adjustments on offense.
Right.
I mean, they take bad shot after bad shot, and I just don't get them.
Hey, Earl,
athletically they're comparable.
Right. Hey, Earl, what do you think? Can Memphis do anything without Ja to beat Golden State? Because I think the next game is the next game in Memphis?
Yeah, game 5.
Game 5? And they're down 3-1 now, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Earl, can Memphis, and Ja's not playing, hey, Earl, can Memphis beat them in Memphis, beat Golden State?
I am not one. There's several fools that are running around here. I'm not one of them that's saying that, well, Memphis went 20-5 without Ja. Well, answer your question. I bet they wish they had Ja now. No, they cannot do anything without Ja. This series is over. It's not going. This series is over in the next game.
So Golden State will win the next game even though it's in Memphis?
Over.
Interesting.
I think even with Ja, Golden State is going to beat them. I think even with Ja, Golden State would beat them.
You would say that again, Larry?
Even with Ja, I think Golden State would still beat them.
You mentioned a point in either in the production meeting or during the game that poor Brooks, he's had a tough series. First of all, he had the flagrant foul, got thrown out the one game, so he hardly played in that game. Then got suspended for the next game, didn't play that. And then the other night they were up 1 with 50 seconds to go, and he took an ill-advised shot.
Plus, he was like 2 for 15 And I'm really wondering why the coach is leaving him out there, you know.
I think he's been a big part of it. I mean, quite frankly, Golden State has been winning, but I mean, they haven't been winning by that much. And Memphis, they've had some injuries and some suspensions, and they're still right there.
Memphis beats themselves to me, and against an experienced team like Golden State, that's the biggest problem. I think year 2 from now, once they get used to playing each other and mature a little bit, have a higher basketball collective IQ, I think they'll beat Golden State easy.
Steve Adams, I thought Steve Adams coming back has helped add some physicality to that bunch. And that game they just lost, they led 95% of that game, and in the last minute and a half, they lost it. So you think Golden State wins? Earl thinks so. Larry, do you think Golden State wins the series, closes it out?
Yes, with or without Ja, I think they will win.
They win that. So here's the thing about Golden State. I want to get y'all's thoughts on. I think on paper, Golden State is stacked. They've got some great players. They got Steph. They've got Clay. They've got Draymond, the big 3, if you will. Poole, you can add him in there and call it a big 4. Then they've got Kuminga and Wiggins and Porter and what's the center that they start the game with? I forgot his name. My point is they're pretty doggone deep, but are they disappointing so far? Because they can't seem to put Memphis away or crush anybody, quite frankly.
Chuck, they're up 3 games to 1.
They are, but they could be down 3 games to 1 too. Yeah. It's been that close.
I mean, I don't necessarily. They don't look that imposing to me on paper. Right. And I think Phoenix looks better than them. And I think Phoenix, if they play Phoenix, they'd have a rough time. Now, Phoenix has their own short run issue with Dallas right now.
Right.
But they look like a better team than Memphis, mainly because Memphis is young. That's the only thing. They don't seem that great to me.
Golden State doesn't seem that great to you.
Correct. They don't seem that great.
But on paper,
they might be.
But on paper, do they sound great? I mean, is that not an
not on paper.
Impressive on paper?
Not on paper.
Yeah, not even on some of those people you named on paper. They're just getting their names on paper now. I mean, first good year for Poole. The other guy, rookie, he just started getting on paper the last couple of games. You know, right. They don't seem that imposing to me.
Earl, what do you think? Do you think that they have an impressive roster? And if they do, if you agree that that's true, then why aren't they playing better or something?
On paper, and I would say they have an impressive roster in general on talent. They just play great as a team. They got a couple of boys that can feel it, and they pass. They give up. A lot of those guys, man, they wouldn't be able to play on other teams, but they all play together. They all can score.
Right.
I mean,
I think they've had a pretty easy path too.
Offensive talent, but on paper they don't have the greatest athletes. They have some good athletes now. Peyton and the boys, the boys that come off the bench are good athletes now. But they just play as a team. They don't make a lot of mistakes, man. They don't make a lot of mistakes.
I agree.
And they're very
small. They're a little small too.
Right. And they win games when you win games with Steph and Clay are off, and you still win games. That's a good team. They don't have to be that talented, but that's a heck of a team.
That shows you what kind of firepower. That's my point. My point is they could be a little off and still win because Poole and what's his name? Andre Wiggins. What's his name? Andrew Wiggins. Those guys. I mean, they've got some people that can contribute. So. I don't know. And then they've got the experience because they got rings and that kind of thing. But I mean, if I were a team I like the Lakers, obviously, there are people on that team that I would like on our team if we had those guys. And we're going to talk about Dallas in a minute. And there are people on the Dallas team, and they're playing competitively that I wouldn't want them. So I just think, given the roster, I'm just surprised that Golden State is not playing better. That's really my only point in this whole exchange.
They haven't really faced a team that really was experienced and has had, I think Memphis has talent, but they're inexperienced. They haven't really faced. They've had a pretty easy path thus far.
Right.
And they're good. They're good. They're not bad. But gosh, if they were in the East, I think it'd be very difficult for them.
Right. Yeah. Should we call off the FBI search on Bain, Earl, and give up on it? Because, I mean, we haven't seen him much at all.
You don't have to call it off. He can't be found. I don't know what's happened to him.
It's interesting.
He was one of the reasons why Memphis had a chance to play with anybody.
Right.
It's horrible.
I think he really must be injured. I think his back must be bothering him.
Yeah. He doesn't look like the same player, does he?
He's not even taking the same number of shots. People like Brooks are.
He has really had a tough series. Well, let's talk about the final series, I guess, which is Dallas. You mentioned them earlier against Phoenix. And quite frankly, they were down 2-0, and they went back to Dallas, and Dallas won both of those games against Phoenix. And one of those games, CP3 looked horrible. He might have looked horrible in both of them, but in one of them, he really looked bad because he fouled out, and which is rare. I think he had more fouls than he did points. So I was impressed with that. So what do you think of that series, Larry? Do you think Dallas has a chance at all?
Sure, they have a chance, but I look for Phoenix to ultimately prevail, and they have just enough savvy and experience to beat them. One guy for them that I think has been really exerting himself on the defensive end, and it's impacted his offense, is Bridges. In the last game, they sort of switched other people on Doncic, and he hit a few shots the last game. I expect, and I like that it was a little subtle adjustment, but and he didn't score big points, but he was doing better than he had before. He wasn't even shooting the ball at first.
No, I agree. I think he had 15 or 17 points last night. Yeah. I know they won that game, and they are now up 3-2. Yeah. And but Earl, what do you think of that? Do you have any thoughts about that series? Were you surprised after Phoenix was up 2-0 that they came back and tied that thing up in Dallas?
I'm definitely surprised. I thought they were going to get swept.
Me too.
Yeah, I think. I don't even like your boy Luka, and he's playing well. I just don't like Dallas. Right. Yes, I am surprised. I thought it'd be a 4-0 series. Yes, Phoenix will win, but to answer your question, yes, I'm definitely surprised.
I tell you, I just mentioned this earlier. I mean, if whatever your favorite team is, I know Larry likes the Wizards, and I know Earl, you don't like to say it out loud, but you, like me, like the Lakers. There's several.
No, I say it out loud. I like the Lakers.
Okay, good.
I like the Lakers ever since Larry can tell you ever since I was a little young man, little boy. But I don't, I like LeBron too. The problem I have with your stepson is he's just not the greatest. That's all. I don't have a problem with LeBron.
You mean he's not the greatest of all time? He's not the GOAT. That's what you mean. You don't mean he's not great. You just mean he's not the GOAT.
Oh no, he's one of the great. He may be right behind him. Right. He may be.
But that's not my point. My point was, I look at Golden State's team, and I look at Miami's Heat's team, and I look at Milwaukee's team and Boston's team. There are players off those teams that if I could get them on the Lakers team, I'd take them. But except for Luka, this is the thing that has me scratching my head. Except for Luka, there's nobody on that Dallas team that I want on my team. What do you think of that, Larry?
But a guy like Finney would work perfect on that team. He can guard the perimeter, and he has a good enough shot that they got to play him honestly when they double team somebody else. He's not an individual one-on-one player on offense, but he'll get you about 15 points a game, and he can guard people on the perimeter. Los Angeles has no perimeter defense, very little perimeter defense, and I think he'd help a lot of teams out. He's not going to carry him on his back, but I think he's a decent player. And he's played pretty well in the playoffs too.
Earl, what do you think about that? That what Larry just said.
I remember I was talking about Smith the other day. He hit that jumper, man.
He had 8 points yesterday.
I mean, some people, I don't like him, but some people take Brunson as well.
And that's what hurt Dallas because he started off scoring early in the game. Finney did. For some reason, he didn't even get it. It seemed like he didn't even get the ball later on in the game. I don't know why. Because he started off and they were competitive early on.
I'm just impressed with Dallas, the fact that they're here. Because again, I don't think their roster. I'm just not blown away by that roster. I do know that people like Bertrand and people like Kleiber can come in and hit shots for them, and it's important on that team that happens. But Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith and Powell, I'm amazed at that team, Dallas. In terms of
Kleiber and Finney-Smith have been very consistent all year. Now, Dinwiddie, he came late, up and down a little bit. And Brunson seems to be, flexing his muscles. He's doing for Dallas what Chris Paul does for Phoenix.
And he does it from a bully ball perspective. I mean, he can hit the outside shot, but he ain't no problem with taking people down inside and muscling them. And I like that. That's kind of an old school thing.
But a lot would depend on what a particular team needs,
Right.
So we're still talking about Dallas and Phoenix, correct?
We are.
My question is, what's up with Chris Paul?
I know. I agree with you.
The point guard that a lot of people say is one of the top 5.
He's 37 years old, and like most people that are that age, it's hard to expect him to carry the team every night.
Right.
But he has enough flashes of brilliance. He'll win 1 or 2 games for you. He's already done that in the series. And now, really, he's playing a long game. All he really needs is one more good show in this series, and he's out of there.
That Phoenix team they just have a good, impressive roster. And you're talking about a team that all the parts seem to fit, and they have a good chemistry, and they seem to really like each other. And that guy Booker is legit. Booker, he can rise up old school and hits that jumper. He has this beautiful little bank shot that he comes in, drives, pulls up, and he hits that nice little soft bank shot too. I mean, Booker is the real deal.
He's a beast. All right,
well, let me ask you both. I'll ask either. I'm not the moderator. I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Charles, is Chris Paul one of the top 5 point guards of all time?
I don't know if he's. I don't know.
He's not, Charles.
I don't know that he's top 5. But I do think he's one of the all-time great point guards in
you don't know, so you don't know. That means no. Because if you knew, you would say it. Okay, all right.
Well, when you say top 5, that's an exclusive.
You're not sure. If your wife asked you, do you love her? You would say yes immediately because you do. If you said you don't know,
because it's the right answer too.
Yeah. Okay, Larry.
No, I have the same answer Charles has. He's one of the best. I don't know who's the top 5. I'd have to think about that.
Right.
Okay.
He doesn't knock Magic Johnson off, I'll tell you that. But
you guys answer to me. I don't know. Listen to it. I don't know. That means no to me. So
let me reverse it to you, Earl, because I do believe he's in the top 12 to 15 to Do you think he's even? Do you think he's even in the history of the game? Do you think he's in the top 12?
I'll give him that. If I didn't give him that,
yeah.
Why would I be on the show? I mean, I'm crazy.
And what I'll say, at some point during his career, he was the best point guard playing. Some of those years that he's played, he was the best point guard out there. I think I told you guys. I can't say best during this whole time because I remember Tony Parker was playing during that time, and that was my boy. And I don't think he was better than him, but he was. At some of those years, I think he probably was the best point guard playing.
He's fallen to the injury bug. The injury bug has gotten Chris Paul several times at critical times. So he's had a hard time staying healthy.
We give him a pass, but we persecute Anthony Davis because he gets hurt every 4 weeks.
No, so you raise a good point. I do think he's one of the best point guards ever, but I might not have him in the top 5.
My man Larry Edwards says availability is an asset.
I agree. I actually agree with Mr. Abels, as I do most things. Right. So that's over, right? So Dallas, they go back to Dallas game 6. Can Dallas beat Phoenix, tie it up to 3 games apiece, and then go back to the desert, or is it over? Go.
It's over.
It's over.
So,
Larry?
Dallas wins game 6.
There you go. We have
of course, I want game 7.
Right. We have a game 7, boys and girls. Let me ask you this question. So is it me or would you agree, does Phoenix have a deep roster?
They have a very deep roster.
I agree.
have depth. They have depth. I won't say deep, but they have good depth.
Right. Earl and you've been talking about this for a couple of years actually since we've had the show, and that is you like the kid Ayton, and I'm telling you, the kid Ayton can play, and he's a valuable asset in a league that doesn't value the bigs like they used to. That big kid guards the rim, can run the floor. Some nights he can give you 17, 20 points, etc. I like him.
He's soft though, Chuck.
I think their depth at center is what will help them prevail against Golden State if they play them. And I can go with even with McGee and Biyamo, all of them. I think they'll wear Green down.
Did y'all see
I
that?
like Clark Connor. I can't wait.
Oh, that's a matchup I want. That's a matchup I want.
You want Phoenix, Golden State?
Yeah.
Golden State winning that. Is representing the West.
Not if they play Phoenix.
And that boy Poole, give that man his money.
I know. Well, Ayton too. Doesn't Ayton have to get paid too?
Ayton is playing very well this year.
Ayton should be dominating more than what he is right now. He's playing great though. I can't complain about his play at all. He's good. I sense a soft side in him, but it ain't rugged in the league anymore anyway. So what's wrong with being soft? You ain't got to be Lambeer nobody no more. Because if you sneeze at somebody, they have to go to the video camera to see whether it was flagrant 1 or flagrant 2. So how hard do you have to be nowadays?
Did you see at the end of the very end of the game where Biombi and the big kid from
the guy from Dallas,
he chased him down the hallway and nothing ever came.
Well, why you would chase somebody down the hallway and then run back?
I think he was just lost.
He was front.
I didn't know why they both got tossed, quite frankly, because the skirmish wasn't really even that big a deal, was it?
Because it was 2.5 seconds and they were
right. Just get out.
Yeah.
Just get out.
Before, and Charles, by the way, you're doing a great job as moderator. And I seem like I'm trying to take over, which I'm not.
No, that's fine. And thank you, by the way.
Before we leave, do we have anything to say about the referees or the calls that are being made in these series that we are watching?
That's an excellent point, Earl. And in fact, I'll toss it to you. You have any thoughts about the referees in general, or is there any specific game or situations that you'd like to bring up? Like, for example, Chris Paul getting 3 right away.
There's been six blatant bad calls, which is a lot for games that we've seen. And there's a little bit more that not been blatant. And there've been calls where you can look on the videotape and it still goes against what's seen on it. This is the worst playoff series I've seen.
From a referee perspective.
And I'm not being a prisoner of the moment. There's been a lot of bad calls and I've seen a lot of games. But this stuff is crazy.
So if you had to give the referees a grade, A, B, C, D, or F, across the playoffs so far, what grade would you give the refs?
Well, it's easy for me to sit back and watch the replay and say what's wrong. It's a completely different thing. These people are moving fast, so it's hard to get some of these decisions right. Let's not get it twisted. So to answer the question, I would say a C.
Okay. That's usually what I give them anyway.
I'm never going to give a ref a negative grade overall. Because people are human, man. People make mistakes. I just get mad when you see these blatantly wrong calls on the video, and I'm like, what are you looking at? What is going on?
Right.
So,
I always give my guy, he was on our show one time, Kevin McKnight. He's been a referee for 30 plus years, and I'm always hard on referees, and he's always defending them. And I said, look, man, we used to play up Kennedy for years, and we never had a referee, and the games went fine, right? So, I mean, let's not overdo it with these referees. Larry, what do you think of the refereeing in the playoffs in general? Has anything caught your attention?
I think every year I think they're bad calls. So, I think this is kind of like business as usual. Like Earl said, they're human. They're going to make some mistakes. I have 2 problems. One problem I have is when they actually do use replay and still get it wrong.
I know.
They don't want to overturn things, you know.
Right.
And then these in-house refs that look at it, they're saying the same thing I'm saying, and they support the refs. But the other part of it is, I think the players bring a lot of that crap on themselves with all this freaking flopping.
Yeah.
They flop all the time. And, you know, old men again, only sorry guys did that kind of stuff. You know, now you get the stars flailing every time you breathe on them. Just play, you know. But so even
the inadvertent plays when the guy might go to the bucket and his left hand swings out. The person who, you know, they gets hit with that hand, they fall out all on the floor. It looks like they hit them harder than they really did, and that kind of thing. Right.
Now, what I thought was particularly bad was the technical foul on Devin Booker when he shot the ball and his hand just landed on the guy. I mean, he didn't smack him, he didn't follow through and wind up. It landed on him, and they went to look at that. I'm like, come on, we gotta bring back some judgment to the referees, because that's part of the problem is they're taking away judgment.
Right.
But no, it's just too much acting. So sometimes I think the players get what they deserve.
Right. So what do you think of the playoffs so far in general? Again, if you had to give it a grade, the entire playoffs to date, I mean, we're all looking forward to it. It was a lot of anticipation. Larry, what grade would you give the overall NBA playoffs?
I would probably give it an A+. I think it's been great.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
And the top 4 teams actually made it to this. Top 4 teams in each conference actually advanced, but a lot of them didn't have an easy road to get there. I mean, you know, they ended up facing challenges early on, but I think it's absolutely great.
Right. How about you, Go? What grade would you give the playoffs so far?
I'd say about a B+. Man, I'm enjoying the playoffs.
Pretty good.
Great. I can't give them an A because of the call. We've already gone over that. But I would say a B+.
I am too. I was, as you know, I was disappointed that my guy, Mr. James, is not in the end. I didn't know how the impact of him not being in it, how it would look. But it's been very entertaining, competitive, and I think the best is yet to come. So I'm impressed.
Hey Maria, you owe me $5. Yeah,
Maria.
Right.
Told you Chuck was going to say something about LeBron, and I didn't. Give me my money.
Right. But so
how did his name come up in this? Yeah.
I
worked the Lakers in earlier, and we kind of let it slide. You know.
Well, I didn't say that. I just said Mr. James. I tried to disguise it that time, right?
Yeah, we have the highest ratings in 15 years. You know?
I mean, the guy was doing a fabulous job on his moderating show. So even with my little snide remarks, it was moving along slow. He had to screw up.
Well, before we leave the NBA, is there anything else you all would like to make a comment about, or you have you'd like to add to, or any observations so far that we haven't covered? Earl, let me start with you.
Nah. We've covered everything.
Yeah. Mr. Abels, any additional nugget that you'd like to share? Any thoughts about the playoffs? That
I think most of the coaches have done a good job adjusting. That's why I think these series swing so far back and forth. Because even when you think about the games that Dallas won, the 2 games, if you looked at game 2 of that series, it looked like they was done.
No way. No way. Right.
So the only coach remaining now that's kind of let me down is Taylor Jenkins.
All right. Yeah, we were all.
But I think the coaches, and by even Doc Rivers, I think they've done a decent job making adjustments.
No, I don't disagree, and I'm not a Doc Rivers fan, so it's hard for me to, All right. Well, look, we're gonna move on from that. Is there anything? What did I have next on the agenda? Is there anything in the National Football League that is on anyone's mind that you'd like to, the draft is over, the mini camps are over. Is there anything that you'd like to
I think it's strange that Tom Brady is going to make $375 million over 10 years, which is more than he's making playing football.
Fox, right? To be an analyst, lead
Yeah.
analyst. That's crazy, right?
And I'm for one, I could give a crap who the analysts are. I don't think Tony Romo's anything special. The world seems to like him. Rarely do I look at the game do I care who the analyst is.
Right.
The matchup is what draws me there. So
right.
But for some reason, he's making more money doing that than he does playing football.
That's unbelievable. Because one of the things I think that's unbelievable is people like LeBron, I did it again, Michael Jordan, those guys usually, once their careers are over, because they are super great, they don't usually go to the booth normally. And Brady is that guy. He is a GOAT. And for him to go to the booth, that's pretty badass, quite frankly.
They're paying him $37 million a year. That's what blows my mind.
Wow.
10 years, $375 million.
And that, by the way, the seat is available once he decides to retire. Right. So whenever that is, it's a standing situation. Earl, what do you think of that? Any thoughts on that?
I think when you're the GOAT, you get those kind of perks.
You do.
I know. Troy Aikman been running around instead of being discreet. He's been running around telling people publicly he's talking to ESPN and he's talking here, he's talking there. He's answering all the questions that reporters are asking about him seeking new employment. And so Fox said, "All right, you're just gonna have to go get somebody else. This gives us a reason to go get somebody and get rid of this." So.
I saw that. It was pretty phenomenal.
I'm wondering why Brady's even playing this year. They're paying him more than he's ever earned playing football.
But I like that too.
If Tampa gets a couple shore up that offensive line, they can win again. Yeah, they almost won it last year.
Right.
I'm just thinking from an earning perspective. Why go there?
Why need to retire now? Because
right.
You're absolutely right.
They don't have he didn't have 325-pound guys chasing them in that booth, do they?
And that one more championship is not going to add to his legacy or take away. You're right, Larry.
He's probably making a few million this year too, but why wait? Is my thing.
I don't think he's making 37 million.
I love that about the all-time greats. They just want to play. He just wants to play.
I'm here. Okay, news media. This was around April Fool's Day when I said this, but this really ain't no April Fool's.
No.
I ain't coming back. I'm getting that 37 million right now. Yeah, that's what I was doing. He's tripping, Larry. You're absolutely right. Okay. Very astute observation. Why is he playing now? I don't get it.
Anything else jump out of you all about football? Any transactions?
I want to ask you a question.
Huh?
Will the Washington Commanders will they ever be an organization that runs correctly or be successful? Or is it it's a possibility? You never know. But can we guarantee that never as long as Dan Snyder's involved? Can we say that much?
No, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, no, I think they could still be successful
with Dan Snyder.
Yeah, I do. I think he's gotten out of the hands-on stuff, and he's hired some pretty, good folks in different positions, and he's allowing them to manage the team. So I don't think he's as involved as he used to.
I think the possibilities there. I'm not sure he's to me, the whole thing's about a general manager.
Right.
I'll go on record saying Bobby Bethel was a general manager they had here. They brought good players in. They won. After he left, it's kind of been downhill.
I tell you what his efforts should be focused on, and I don't know, is building a new stadium and where that stadium is going to go and what, that whole thing. That's the next focus to me. They need to build another stadium. I love it. I would love to see him build it right there where RFK is, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I can't believe I brought up those perennial.
I know.
rules.
See, there you go. You did it too. I know. I'm
I'm
glad you did, and I'm glad you did because we had a chance to comment on them. Hey, Larry, there was a no-hitter thrown the other night in baseball. Do you want to comment anything about baseball at all? This past week.
I saw that. I was kind of surprised because most of the time they take pitchers out after 5 innings.
I know, no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think it was a rookie or something too that did it. I saw. I didn't follow that as closely, but I did see that on the sports.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it who threw it? Was it California that threw the no-hitter?
Not exactly sure.
Yeah,
not exactly sure.
Yeah, I saw that too, and I'm not sure all the details either. Earl, do you have anything in sports that you'd like to comment on prior to us wrapping the show up?
I forgot his name. They got a new young boy that whooped on Nadal and the other number one player.
Yeah, young guy in tennis. I saw that too.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name.
I forgot his name. That's why I was hesitant to
bring it up.
Bring it up. I didn't want to be like David and bring up somebody and don't even know their name. That don't make sense. Damn.
Hey, David, how you doing this evening, sir? See, your name did come up. Well, look, we're going to start to, unless we have something additional to say, we're going to start to wrap the show up a little early tonight. And so with that said, does anyone have any closing comments? And I'll start with you, Larry. You have anything you'd like to say?
I'm going to defer for now. I might add on to something that somebody else says.
Mr. Go-Go Earl, do you have any closing comments or anything you'd like to say at the end?
I want to know what channel is the game on?
TNT.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm on ESPN. I'm panicking. I'm like,
you saw hockey, didn't you? You saw hockey, didn't you?
Boston's up 9 at the end of the third quarter.
Oh, what I wasn't talking about, but I really don't have a lot of knowledge on them, so I really don't want to talk about it. But I am curious why these colleges are complaining about the name and licensing thing. I don't have enough knowledge to Larry might know about it. I don't know. No. But since I don't know about it, I'm not going to waste our time and be stumbling over it. So I don't have anything.
Well, you're onto something. I mean, you really are. Quite frankly, everybody's trying to figure it out. Everybody's trying to figure it out. I saw one guy from Miami, a guard from Miami, who said, hey, look, if they don't give me more money in the name, image, and likeness, I'm transferring. And then 2 days later, they said, all right, I'm not transferring. So that implied that he got whatever money he was looking to get. And so the money in certain cases, I've heard some big numbers. And I know that the NCAA had to meet up on Capitol Hill recently to discuss how we can try to get some control of this thing. But yeah, it is. You're onto something, Earl. I don't know the answers and I don't know all the concerns, but there's a lot of buzz. There's a lot of buzz around it. There's a lot of buzz around it.
Here's the concerns: is that we have these companies that are paying these guys to go to these schools. Which boggles my mind because it doesn't seem to make business sense to do that. I mean, who knows? Nobody even knows these guys. But I guess these boosters want them to come to that particular university and they give them money. They're making more endorsement money, which is really kind of what it is than pros are making. Very few pros get endorsements. But now all of these college players are doing it. But it's so inequitable how it's being dispersed. And that's what I think the problem is with the colleges.
Well, let me ask you guys this. What is the difference now than it was before? I mean, everybody's not. I thought we were trying to be. Well, maybe I was tripping. I thought we were trying to be fair, so everybody could get paid. Ain't only certain people are getting paid on these deals. So what's the difference between now and before? Only certain people are getting these deals.
Yeah.
Most of the college players are not. They still ain't got no money.
Some of them are getting like $1 million, though.
They are.
A couple of them have got $1 million.
Yeah.
Earl, okay, but what about everybody else that's playing?
Earl, if you're the 11th man on the basketball team, why is your hand out? Why am I giving you money? You're the 11th. If you're the 11th man on the basketball team.
Well, if that's the case, you don't need no name and license. Then you can just keep letting the boosters give money to people who they want to give it to. So
I will go back and tell everybody there's a simple answer to this. Have the schools really admit that these people are employees and pay them, and they can have a salary structure. And if once they're employees, they can negotiate a contract that says you can't give us so much money from the outside if they're concerned about being equitable. But of course, that would take money out of the school's pockets. Right. Remember, we got these football coaches; they get $12 million a year.
Right. Yeah, it's a very complicated subject. However, and I'll go back to another point that Earl made earlier. Look, if I had $100 million and I went to the University and I graduated from Indiana University, and I want my team to be successful, and I want to give a couple of key players $2 or $3 million, and I got $100 million. What do I care as long as we win? Because I want us to win. Does that make sense? Like, I don't.
It doesn't make sense to me with my economics degree.
Right. Well, I mean,
I'll give you $2 million. I need to get something more than just joy out of it.
Well, no, but if you got a lot of money, who cares? I mean, who cares? I mean, we just saw the other day.
Chuck,
Wait. This is an exaggeration. But
I understand what you're saying.
We saw that Elon Musk just spent $44 billion for Twitter.
Right. But you know what? It's been my experience that the people I know who make the most money, they're real frugal with their money. They don't just say, screw it, I got a lot of money, I'll throw it on it. They're real funny about their money. With most people that I have met, now I have met a millionaires, but I know a lot of people that make money. They tight as I don't know what with their cash.
Some of these people are just giving money away. I don't see what their return on their investment is other than
joy.
Yeah.
Joy. That's all. We want our school to win. We hate to see our team lose. So, all right. I have a closing comment, and my closing comment tonight is on Mr. Bob Lanier. Bob Lanier died today. Bob Lanier was 73 years old. Unfortunately, he passed today. He was a center in the NBA for 14 years. He played 10 with the Detroit Pistons. He played 4 with the Milwaukee Bucks. He was the number one pick. It was the number one in 1970 out of St. Bonaventure's. He was 6'10", 250, 260, wore a 22 shoe. That's what I remember about when I first heard about Bob Lanier back in the day, was his enormous feet. And
was it 22 or 23?
It was 22. And he was just a gentleman, a great guy, a great ambassador for basketball when he got out of the game. He was an 8-time All-Star, just a terrific player. I was looking at something earlier, too, in terms of his college. In 1970, when he graduated, listen to this. In 1970, when he graduated from college, he was first-team All-American, and he averaged 29 points a game for St. Bonaventure's. Now, listen to the All-American team that year, 1970. Dan Issel, Bob Lanier, Pete Maravich, Calvin Murphy, and Rick Mount. And Rick Mount.
Guy, yeah.
And Rick Mount.
Yeah.
And well, he went to Purdue. And Dan Issel averaged 33 points in college that year. Lanier averaged 29. Maravich averaged 38. Rick Mount averaged 35, and Calvin Murphy averaged 29. Is that unbelievable? That's a lot. This is no three-point line, and the fact that they could score like that back then, that was unbelievable. And by the way, on the second team was a guy from the Washington, D.C. area named Austin Carr. And one game that year, Austin Carr had 61 points against Ohio. He could really score too, and he averaged 30. Austin Carr averaged 38 that year.
Yeah.
So that was a heck of that 1970 was a heck of a team. So God rest a big Robert Lanier. And I just wanted to make a comment about him in our closing remarks tonight.
I find it ironic, and I'm not trying to be funny or be a dweeb or a jerk or anything. I find it ironic that you're raving over these old players, and most of the time you dog older generation players. You dog. You say, you can't expect these players. You know those old players are not like the players of the day. So I find it really funny that you're raving over the old players now.
Well, I'm acknowledging a guy of my youth. 1970 came into the league, and we all knew who Big Bob Lanier was. So I'm just acknowledging. And this back when centers were centers, with people like Gilmore and Wes Unseld and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Collins and so forth and so on. So I'm just, I'm tipping my hat to.
So I don't want you saying anything about when he comparing older players to the older generation to the younger generation.
Well, let me ask you a question before we
always
close out.
dogs are old players.
I want to follow up with Bob. I want to follow up on Bob before we go.
Huh? I don't dog them. I just don't think they're as good as the players are today. But let me ask you, Earl, could Bob Lanier play today?
Of course.
In today's basketball?
First of all, any big man back in the day can play today.
Okay.
Yeah. These people are tripping about the game has evolved, small ball. I bet you some of these teams wish they had a big man to do something. So Giannis is not running rampant on them.
Okay.
You can always use a good big man. You can always use a good big man.
There's no doubt in my mind that he could play today. But I want to follow up with that was 1970. I was in 9th grade. That was one of the first years that I really followed the NCAA tournament very, very closely. I know UCLA was winning. I used to watch some of the games, but Bob Lanier got hurt in the quarterfinals, right? And his team still won that game, and they made it to the Final Four. Another guy that Chuck mentioned that didn't make the All-American team was Artis Gilmore. Was waiting for him in the next round. And these games were out at University of Maryland, and I actually got to go to the semifinal games out there at University of Maryland that year. And I was so disappointed because I wanted to see Bob Lanier play against
Artis Gilmore.
Yeah, I think UCLA played New Mexico, so they kind of blew them out. And then UCLA went on and beat in the championship game that I didn't go to. But I just was following them that whole year. He and Kelvin Murphy, for that matter, because I see two little schools up in upstate New York,
Niagara,
and these guys are just lighting it up. Yeah. So rest in peace, Bob Lanier.
Yeah, a little to tie it a little St. Anthony's to this. A guy who graduated with me from St. Anthony's in 1974, Gregory Saunders, went on to St. Bonaventure's, played college basketball at St. Bonaventure's, and he broke Bob Lanier's all-time leading scoring record in terms of point total at St. Bonaventure's, and now Greg Saunders is the all-time leading point guy at St. Bonaventure's.
You got to remember, he played 4 years though, and Lanier could only play 3 at the time he played.
I agree, and the 3-point line and so forth. So, well, listen, gentlemen, that's all I have tonight. Hey, look, America, thank you for tuning in. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate that. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the rest of the tournament, the NBA playoffs. We'll see you next Wednesday, and good night.
Great job, Chuck. Natural leader, natural moderator.
No, it's not.